Recently, I had two people reach out to me about adult ADHD, and I thought it would be a good time for me to share our experience and to tell you how I can help. We hear about ADHD and ADD mostly in children. It's usually exasperated teachers that call the parents and ask them to find the doctor, diagnose the child, prescribe something just so they can keep on going with their classes so they can teach their classes, understandably so. It's really hard to manage a class where there's at least one child that has ADD, ADHD symptoms. So I understand that. Now what usually happens is the kids get diagnosed and then they're prescribed medicine like Ritalin, and that's it. Nobody gets to the bottom of the problem. Nobody figures out what the cause of ADD or ADHD is, and everybody moves on. Well, in the case of adults, it's not like the boss is gonna call the parents and say, "Hey, you need to get this adult taken in and get diagnosed." It's usually us who feel like something's not right, like we cannot pay attention in meetings, and we cannot focus, and we have brain fog, and there's too many thoughts at once, and we suffer and our productivity suffers. And then what do we do as adults? Yes, we can also go get diagnosed and get a prescription medicine and move on with our lives, but it's a little more complicated than that. First, because the root of the problem is not addressed. I know that functional medicine doctors help with that, and they're fantastic. They're hard to find, and a lot of times they're expensive. I know because I've been there. Now, here's our story. My husband, who's now 45, was diagnosed with ADHD as a child, and he was prescribed Ritalin, which he took for about 10 years of his life. And then when we got married, I had never heard of ADD or ADHD. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it was. I just didn't care much until we were in Istanbul, in Hagia Sophia, which is the church turned mosque, turn church, turn mosque again. And as you all know, when you travel abroad, and mostly in a country that, it's different and intense, I would say, and Istanbul was not as modern as European as it is now. You have to be on your game, and you have to be focused, and you have to pay attention to the itinerary. And then my husband's mind was just all over the place, and I panicked. I was like, what are we doing? No, we have to stay focused, because you pickpocketers and directions and timetables, like, this is important. And then it's when it dawned on me that first, it was not his fault, and second, he wasn't even aware that this was really happening. As luck would have it, or this was like a tremendous blessing for us. The same summer, our neighbor downstairs named Andrea recommended this book that had just come out that made the connection between the brain and food for the first time for me. I had never, ever made a connection between what we eat and how our brain functions. Actually, I didn't even think there was a connection between what we eat and how our body functions. I thought it only had to do with digestion, and that's about it. It never just clicked with me. And then I read that book, and I had an epiphany. It was like mind-blowing. And I remember it was at the beach. It was not a beach read, but anyway, I had my husband read the book, and he was just like, what is going on? In that book helped us dig deep and find the root cause of his ADHD. Now, the root cause of the ADHD and ADD is problematic because it's different from person to person. Oftentimes, it has to do with the microbiome. It has to do with food allergies. It has to do with food intolerances. It has to do with nutrient deficiency or deficiencies. It has to do with what we did with the food system, right? With artificial dyes and artificial sugars. So it's just a bunch of things. And again, they're different from person to person. So I remember I took a trash bag, and we went in the pantry, and we just started tossing everything that had artificial colors, artificial sweeteners, everything that had ingredients that we never heard of. We had not realized before that there was a problem. We weren't drinking soda, but that's about it. That's as much as we were doing for our health besides exercising and cooking at home. So we just tossed everything from the pantry. And honestly, I had to do that twice. I don't remember exactly when we did it again, because food that's not really healthy has a way of finding its way back into the pantry. You may think, oh, I missed this, I'm gonna have a little chip here or there. So we had to do that twice, and then wasn't in an elimination diet, and it wasn't easy, guys. It was just hard, and for him, and it seems to be a common denominator for people with ADD or ADHD. For him, one of the causes was gluten. Again, it's not for everybody. It is a common denominator, but it's not everybody's problem. And with gluten, Weston cannot have even a speck or a gram of gluten, because it takes like 2 weeks to get out of his system. And within those 2 weeks, he suffers and I suffer, our relationship suffers, because it's frustrating. And it's not like I get a memo saying, hey, your husband accidentally had a gram of gluten, so have patience with him, be aware of that. It's not like that. So I tend to forget, right? Because he's been well for so long. So gluten is a big deal, and back then there was nothing gluten-free. And by the way, everything that's out there that's gluten-free doesn't mean that it's healthy. Mostly gluten-free bread has so many ingredients that you should not eat, and because then if the other problem that's there for you that's causing ADHD is artificial colors, artificial foods, then you're not really helping yourself. So it's complicated, but it's doable. Like, it can be done, because I have done it. Weston has done it. We've done it together. We keep a gluten-free, dairy-free house. I'm not cooking 2 ways. I am not washing pots in between cooking, like with gluten, without gluten. So it's a family commitment for the parents that have children that have ADD and ADHD and want to do something else besides medication and want to get to the bottom of the problem. Like, I want to encourage you to stand up for your kid and to be your kid's advocate. And please don't think it's like, oh, my kid is going to suffer because he or she is not having Cheetos and Fritos and goldfish. It's like, no, you are your child's advocate. Because a few years down the road, everybody's going to be smoking or drinking. And just because everybody's doing something doesn't mean your child should be doing that. And if artificial colors hurt your child, then no more artificial colors. And I'm a mother. I'm a mother of a 13-year-old, and it can be done. Like, it can be done. You have to be super intentional about it and know that's hurting your child. And if you do know what's hurting your child, and if you work with somebody that can help you get to the root of the problem, and if you jump on board, you and the whole family, because there's no point in just like, oh, we're just going to continue eating this and you cannot have it. No, it's like, we're all in this together, and we're all going to help you through it, because nobody is going to be red dye deficient. Nobody's gonna suffer from not having artificial flavors and artificial colors. And then when it comes to the medicine, maybe in some cases really necessary, but you have to remember, the body and the brain is not Ritalin deficient. The body can be omega-3 deficient. It could be vitamin D deficient, vitamin B6, which is a big one for people with ADD. So keep that in mind. It's not the Ritalin that the body is deficient in, but it's nutrients and life-giving foods. And I wish you all well. Mostly adults that I know that are struggling with this. It can be done. Reach out if you have any questions. Send me an email at Twin Leaf Wellness, and we'll go from there.